But I feel like there's another component in there that maybe you don't have, but I would, Steve. And that is managing your fear, your panic, perhaps. That's what I was referring to with inner stability. How do you develop that?
So, did you get to the? I'm sure you read the chapter on fear, right? Controlling fear. So
Oh, yes.
there's two.
I gotta find it here.
It's okay, don't worry about it. You can control fear both proactively and reactively. And I won't, bore our listeners and viewers on all the details. But the bottom line is there are techniques utilized by various agency personnel who are in it all the time, and in the real world scenarios that force them to make those critical decisions in a split second of a time. And the greatest, I should say, a very common question I get asked a lot of times when I'm teaching is, what happens if I freeze? Well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't know that you will freeze. You don't know that unless you've been in a situation before and you did. You don't
Don't
know
pay
that.
attention to that comment about snakes. That's not true. Adam's lying. Adam's lying.
Okay, I will not.
That's a joke. Anyway, sorry to
So
interrupt you.
if you will freeze, you don't know. You may not. But if you do freeze, there are things you can do to unfreeze, and there are things that you can do prior to finding yourself in a situation where you may freeze that can inoculate you and desensitize you to the fear component. So just like you can control a muzzle at higher speeds, you can control your own fear proactively. So in other words, dry firing allows you to feel what it's like and get all your mechanics down prior to confirming that on the range with a live round. The same thing
Mhm.
with fear. If you practice some of these exercises, these proactive measures ahead of time, then should the event ever occur, you now have already processed it. You've seen it before. It's no longer. Let me give you a little bit more background on this because it's a very good question. I want to be thorough. Most people have a tendency to freeze in a situation where the brain must process information that's new, unfamiliar, and threatening. Those are the
Mhm.
three: new, unfamiliar, and threatening. Nothing you can do about the threatening. A threat's a threat. So 1/3 of it is nothing we can do about. However, 2/3 of that equation, we can melt the ice around with the potential fear. One of them is it's no longer new. So when you train and you put yourself in different scenarios, simunitions or simulators or anything along those lines, where you're
Mhm.
placing yourself in particular situations, your brain is becoming, okay, this is no longer new. I'm in a situation, I've seen it before. There's a file that your mind can now go to because it's no longer new. And then the more you do something, you keep putting yourself in that situation, whether it's simunitions training or blue gun training or whatever it is. You are constantly becoming more and more familiar with the feeling of that situation. So now you've eliminated the newness, you've
Mhm.
eliminated unfamiliarity.
Mhm.
Again, there's nothing you can do about the threat, but take away 2/3 of that equation, and you have taken away 2/3 of the probability of you freezing.
Wow. That's really good.